Hey guys, it's BearInABackpack, and welcome to the No Games Here podcast. This week, I'm joined by Tom, and we're going to talk about the Nintendo Switch, Red Dead Redemption 2, Titanfall 2, a certain notorious No Man's Sky tweet, and a bunch of other things. The music that's playing is Luigi's Mansion remix by Qumu. That's Q-U-M-U. Qumu makes video game remixes as well as original tunes. If you want to go check out more of his music, check the link below. Alright guys, well sit back, relax, and get ready for the podcast. I mean, obviously, recently one of the biggest news releases is the fact that Nintendo has finally released details on their new, up-and-coming console, the Nintendo Switch. And today I'm talking with Tom, and we're going to try and figure out our thoughts between the two of us, kind of what we're thinking about it, what we like, what we don't like, any observations we have, and really just kind of discuss it. So why don't we start with you, Tom? So, I know we've been talking back and forth about, what our observations on it. And for me, I'm worried about losing parts to it. That's my main concern. But you said you had a few concerns on it yourself.
Well, I mean, I definitely think your concern is one that I have as well, which is losing parts. I mean, those those side controllers, I can just imagine, you're walking around with it. I can imagine those could slip off or you put it in your bag or something and, they're gone. You'll never find them again. And I'm kind of worried about that. And not only just losing them, but the durability of them. If you're sliding them in and out of yes, it sounds bad, I know. But you slide it in and out of the slot.
In and out, and in and out.
In and out of the slot. And I can only... Well, okay. There's only so many ways I can say it.
I know. Just carry on. We're 12, everybody. We're 12. Don't worry. But
when you keep attaching and detaching the controller, I think that could cause... I mean, I could just imagine there being some wear and tear on those controllers. And I feel like that could cause some issues. And if you have to buy, if one of them goes bad, do I have to buy the whole new controller? Can I only buy one of them? How does that affect their compatibility with each other? There's a lot of questions on terms of just straight, how's this going to work physically? And is it going to be something that's going to last? Or is it going to be something that we're all like, oh, that's a great idea, but it breaks all the time. And I have to spend extra money on all these parts every, 6 months or whatever. And I'm concerned about that. But I mean, on the positive side, I think that this is a really interesting way for them to push forward and an interesting technology to try to do. I mean, it's obvious they're trying to take advantage of the tablet market.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's obvious that they're really trying to target the mobile platform, which is where their strong suit is at this point in the game.
I really enjoyed in the commercial, though, that all their there are a lot of uses for that it's like, hey guys, we're doing this thing completely unrelated. We're outside, we're getting exercise, we're playing basketball. Let's stop and play video games and also play basketball in the video game. I'm like, wait, you stopped playing actual basketball but okay.
It does that was so weird.
Okay.
And obviously it's a spot. They're trying to, show you play basketball, but you could play the virtual basketball.
You could play it with your friends anywhere. Yeah, I get the idea. At least with the go-kart one, they went from playing go-kart to hey guys, why don't we actually play go-kart? They're like, oh yeah, why don't we go to the go-kart arena and actually go-karting?
Or it's on the way, let's play go-kart.
Yeah.
Mario Kart. Well, we're on the way there.
Yeah, all right, okay, fair enough. That one was a lot better, but the basketball one was this just...
But the thing going to the Mario Kart one where they're taking off the controllers and playing, I'm like, who would ever be able to play that? What tiny midget child would have to,
the controls, yeah, I have huge hands. For me, my thumbs would be half an inch apart from each other on those things from the looks of it.
Yeah, between you and Alex, I bet you'd both be trying to push the buttons, be I fat fingered all 4 buttons. What does that do?
Well, I threw the shell, I braked, and then now I jumped. I accelerated. I did all these things all at once.
I just don't see the viability of having those controls. I mean, it's a nice touch, and I guess if you want to say, well, my friends can play with me now, if I have 2 pro controllers, can someone have 2 pro controllers and then 2 of those? Let's say you usually play with 2 people, but today 4 people are around, so you're like, well, I guess we can all play.
Yeah,
it may not be the ideal way to play.
Well, yeah, but you have to give it to Nintendo. To be perfectly fair, they've clearly already designed it like, look, we're going to design it so you can already play with another person. You don't have to buy another thing. You don't have to buy another controller. It already works. Like, it just works the first time, and there you go. If you want to play with more people, okay, yeah, we can give you some extra controllers. I think that's really cool. Like, them going the extra mile to already ensure that you want to use it and play it with other people. Like, I think that definitely helps them a lot, especially like marketing wise. So then, they're already ready for that multiplayer market. And then I just, again, just kind of back to the losing things. Like, I don't know. I still agree that it bothers me that you slide them off and then just kind of like, and then you just put them on. I hope you don't lose it in the couch or in your car or at Bill's house. or accidentally it falls off in the driveway. You back up and now you're down a controller,
Or you step on it.
I know. There's like, guys, there's so many problems. Detachable pieces. We've all lost things. We know how this goes.
But one thing we don't know, which is something that maybe could be interesting, is that they haven't shown all of the type of attachments. I mean, in theory, they could have different types of slide attachments, couldn't they?
Yeah, I mean, or theoretically, there'd be one where once you attach it, it like connects to something that keeps it on there. Like, I'm sure it's not just a slide in. I bet you there's probably a little button you got to press
a latch
first.
Or something, like a lock button. Or
like
something.
Once it's on there, obviously. I mean, the thing is, I'd be worried about the to and from trip, like taking them off and walking with them if you accidentally drop one or something, or you take them off, you set them on the table for a sec to go do something, and something happens. There's the in between is the problem.
Yeah, I think there's a lot but there's a lot of potential for it. Like, let's say they have a bigger version of the side controllers that do still snap on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, like, instead of it being like minuscule tiny controllers that a small person would have, a kid would have trouble using, I think, to maybe something that's a little bit more reasonable. It may stick out a ways from the screen, but it could be kind of, I think they could do a couple different things with it, make it interesting.
Yeah, and the part of the like preview or like trailer video they had for it where the guy was like playing it on the plane, which I'm like, first of all, can he? It's like, well, I suppose once I get to
nowadays
altitude,
you can.
but it's like, yeah, once you get to altitude, it's fine. But that aside, engineering thought aside, I just like that you were able to just like take off the side controls and lean back and just play your game. You didn't have to have it like in your face 2 feet away from you because you had to hold the thing. You just be like, I'm going to set that over there and I'm going to play.
That's it.
Another thing. Oh, go ahead.
I said that's a great point, because I do think that sometimes when you play handheld games like 3DS or Vita or even tablets, a lot of times you got to pull that screen way close to your face to be able to do anything, and that does give you a little bit. But the question will be is how much can you see on a 6.5? I think it's 6.5-inch screen from that far away is my real question.
Yeah, I don't know. Another thing I noticed that I found interesting, I don't know if it's like the editing or like the rendering. I don't know if it was like just like like specifically to the video process, but I noticed that when you took it off the dock in the video, you could see that there was a reduction in like frame rate a little bit.
Yeah, I did notice that as well.
Here's the thing that I actually kind of respect about that. If that was purposeful, I really like that they're like, hey guys, look, I mean, it's gonna happen. You go from having all the power in the box and you try to take it with you, it's not gonna be as nice. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah.
But the real question I think that brings up is that docking station an extra power source, like, an extra graphical booster, or is it just like an HDMI docking port?
That's another reason that I was kind of like, I don't know. I've been looking around and I haven't been able to find anything on it yet. But for the way I understand, I think it is just docking station, which then if you think about that, if you go back, then it's like, well, is it always low FPS? Like, what's going on?
Or is it always lower quality? Because there's only so much you can fit into a small screen.
Oh, I totally agree. I'm not expecting them to have some crazy, powerful processor in that thing. It's just, it's like, what again, I pay attention to details, and that just was like, there's some stutter in that. Why is there stutter?
The other question is we don't necessarily like. I kind of wonder, because sometimes when you watch things on like videos on YouTube or something, you do notice stutters that aren't in real life. It's just because, you got that latency between the video and stuff that you're watching.
And to be fair, it was probably shot in 24 FPS instead of 30, so it's going to look like it's a little
That's
weird.
what I mean. Like maybe it was just the way that they filmed it, that it just looked kind of strange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say it'll probably run fine. It's just the video, like particularly the trailer, that made it look strange.
Yeah, because I think Nintendo never has had a real issue with frame rate or performance in their games, typically. I'm trying to think of one that they did directly first party that I remember having issues.
Yeah,
they're not like Bethesda.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, like, looking at the games that were, like, their history with games, like, it seems like they've always put, like, performance on a higher pedestal than graphics fidelity. And I like that. I like your game should work and work well. If it can look nice too, sweet.
And especially if you have a unique art direction, you don't necessarily need great graphics.
Yeah. Take like what? Wind Waker? Wind Waker is a great example. It's like, it's not like, oh my God, look at the grass. It's so real. Oh, look, those fish move out of the way when you swim next to them. Anywho.
Fish AI.
Fish AI. Woo. They're like, why don't we make it cartoony? It'll be artsy. Then we don't have to spend a whole bunch of graphics resources doing that. We can hide a lot of things. And it looks cool. And it plays great. Cool. All right. Awesome.
And it lasts longer.
Yeah, that too. Because then, you don't notice it being outdated because it's cartoony. It'll always look decent.
As opposed to something that's trying to go realistic. Even like Twilight Princess, as much fun as that, I think much underrated I think that game is in the Zelda series. I do think that it does suffer from age a lot more than Wind Waker does, even though it came after.
And then there's Ocarina of Time, if we're going to talk about suffering from age.
Hey, that game still is amazing.
Oh, game-wise?
I think it still has a charm.
Oh, it still has a charm, but it's definitely like,
blocky.
Oh, we've come a ways.
Yeah, and
times have changed.
And that's the thing where Nintendo looks like they're going to try, because I think this shows people are like, well, we don't know the specs yet. It could be as powerful as the PS4. I'm like, no, it won't. There's no way it could possibly. One, it has to be able to be run on a battery, so you're not going to have the power consumption that you can have on a console.
Yeah, like I wonder what the battery life is going to be, because let's assume that they have like medium graphics fidelity, that's going to be pretty draining. Like, I hope it has a decent battery, or what? Are you going to have like a couple hours maybe? And I guess that's reasonable, honestly. Like, who's out without the docking station for like hours and hours and hours and expects it to just like, I'll just play games for the next 6 hours. It'll be fine.
Some people do with like the 3DS, like if they're doing a long car ride, they're going on a long plane ride. I could see that that people want to have longer battery life, but the question would be, can you recharge it using like a portable battery? Like ones that you can just plug in with USB for your phone. I'm wondering
if that isn't like standard equipment that you can buy for it, I would be surprised.
Yeah, and that would be the biggest concern, or that on that side, because I know, the unfortunate thing is for things like the 3DS, that's not necessarily as doable. I think they have an adapter, if I remember correctly, that you could do that, but the standard out of the box is plug and wall. I'm
guessing, like, again, if the whole idea is to be as mobile as possible, they have to. They have to come with a attachable battery, just like a bonus battery source. You can be like, oh yeah, it's running out. Boop, there you go.
But I think the big thing is I think that they have shown something that they're trying to go. But I think the biggest concern that I have personally is I'm confused at what their audience is and who this is for.
Can you elaborate?
Is this for, I guess what I would say is this for you and I, somebody who's older, who's loved Nintendo games their whole life and wants to continue to play high quality Nintendo games? Or is this for the little kid that they're trying to get with their kind of gimmicky slow, quick games that are easy to understand, easy to follow, kind of like how the comparison of Skyward Sword was to Wind Waker or Twilight Princess, where the dungeons were really easy, the puzzles were simplified, and everything felt like it was, well, it has to be easy so kids can understand. I'm worried of the target audience for this, and then are they trying to target mobile people? Are they trying to target people with phones? Are they trying to target people who play iPad games? Or are they trying to target hardcore, gaming people like you and I? Because I think if they try targeting phones and stuff and try putting, their versions of Candy Crush and stuff, I'm going to be much less interested. I guess it's the focus of what they're going to be trying to make is where I'm concerned.
Well, I could totally believe that maybe what they're trying to do is target all three of those at the same time.
Ooh, dangerous.
I know it's, again, well, I mean, Nintendo does a lot of risky moves.
But it hasn't worked out well for them. That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, a lot of that could just be solved by what game you're playing to a point. I mean, I realize also that depends on them designing the game around the market. I realize there's multiple things to this, but we'll take that aside and we'll continue with this. That, they could be targeting the younger audience as well as our audience, our generation, our audience, whatever you'd like to refer to that as well as the part of our generation that is more mobile focused, simply just by having the hardware available for everybody. I mean, if you look at that console, how hard would it be to be like, let's say you have kids, right? And you're like, okay, well, we're going to be heading to Massachusetts. It's a 6-hour car ride. Okay, well, let's give, Susie and Tim the, Nintendo Switch, let them play Mario Kart for the next 4 hours and we'll gas up and keep going. That works. At the same time, if you're like, all right, well, I'm on a car ride to wherever, you can go like, all right, I guess I'll play, Mario Kart. And it still works. And in the mobile market, all right, well, you just play a slightly more mobile-friendly game, which I guess if you want that kind of thing, cool. It's not my own thing personally, but I think the console just works well for all three markets. It's whether or not the games they make will support which market. I think that's really what it's going to come down to, is what the games do, because the console itself is set up for everything. From what I can tell, it looks like it'll work well for pretty much every application regarding those markets.
Yeah, I guess I'm worried that they're going to be putting too many eggs in too many different baskets, where they're going to be saying, well, we got to have these mobile type games, and they put a lot of their energy towards those, and we're going to have all these kid friendly games, and because I think once they start divvying up their very limited amount of talent for their first party stuff, and maybe maybe the thing is this will be more of a third party system that they allow people to make the mobile games and they don't have to worry about it. And hopefully that works, and that on all three sides, that they can get people on all sides to help them. Because I guess for me, I'm most interested for Nintendo consoles in Nintendo properties. I don't really want to play, the new Mass Effect or Watch Dogs 2 or any of these, newer games or on the Switch. I'm going to play it on PC, or I'm going to play it on PS4 or Xbox One. I think that if they're trying to target to be kind of in that type of market, I don't think they're going to win. I don't think that that's going to be something that they're going to be able to do, just like they couldn't do with the Wii U. And that's where I'm worried. And I'm worried that their first-party software will be targeted to the wrong people and lose a lot of our audience because of that.
Hmm. Yeah, it raises a lot of questions too, because I don't know. Another thing I was thinking about while we were talking about this is obviously, as time goes on, the people who are playing their games are going to change over time. Mm-hmm. And at some point, you do have to start thinking, well, yeah, but we got to get the new people in on this.
Exactly.
I wonder at what point we're going to reach that, where it's they're no longer marketing towards us because they need to market towards the next generation because they're the ones that are going to be buying the games. So at some point, I mean, it just makes sense that they're going to stop being quite so focused on us and start moving where, it is easier for kids to pick up because kids are playing it. And then they can, almost like a cycle of the games get more and more complicated, and then a drop off, and then more and more complicated, and then a drop off,
Yeah. I mean, but the counter argument I would make to that Well, Super Mario Bros. 3 is a great game for adults and for kids. But if you say it for kids, it's like, well, it has to be kid-friendly and easily accessible. That game is freaking hard when you get to the last few worlds.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, I just finished that game, and that game is freaking impossible at times.
Oh,
And
come on. The clock level's just so easy, right? I mean, come on. I mean, that was so easy to get through all of that and totally figure out that depending on what time you jump into the clock changes how fast things move. That was easy as a child, right? Right?
And you see, and like I play games, I'm like, how did I ever beat this game? How did I
Lots
ever
of
beat
time.
this game?
More time than you remember spending on it.
Exactly. But then my point is that I think that the industry as a whole for children's games are all being dumbed down, which then makes it not accessible for older people. Whereas Mario Bros. Or Zelda used to be accessible to any age group that it could play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I fear that they're trying to dumb things down, and I could see it with Skyward Sword. I could see it with their more recent Mario games. I could just feel that they were just getting easier without being because like I'm not saying a kid that all the games should be Ninja Gaiden, which is freaking impossible on the NES.
Good luck, fucker.
I'm not saying it has to be like that, but a little bit of challenge where a kid who tries hard enough at it will eventually beat it. But I don't want us to go to a point where they lose us because they solely focus on what's going to be good for kids.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, when we're talking about like whether or not they're going to be a third-party console kind of thing, will like support that kind of stuff. I'm like in the trailer when they were showing them playing Skyrim, which first of all I was like, wait, why are they playing Skyrim on Nintendo? I'm very confused.
Why not Fallout 4 of all of them?
Yeah, I mean fair, but like why? What? that's not on Nintendo. And then you were saying apparently like they used it, but it's not confirmed that it'll be on it, but it's in the trailer and it's weird. That aside, like maybe them showing that is trying to clue in people that this is going to have other things than just Nintendo stuff, which would then fill in that mobile market, because maybe they are just going to open it up to, hey, you make apps, you can get apps, and we can get the same apps that are available on Apple or the Play Store for Google, you can get on the Switch. So then it works for the mobile people. Then the people are like, I mean, it is a little weird because like you already have the phone. I mean, why would you?
Yeah.
But I think it's more of like, if you're even sort of considering getting it, then you're like, well, I guess I also get my phone games too. Like if you're that person who's like, well, I really want to play the Zelda or the new Zelda game, but like, I'm not a huge fan of those. I'm more of a mobile game person. Like maybe they're trying to like grab that person off the fence. Just like have them teeter just a bit farther towards them and hopefully have them fall off,
Yeah, I guess we're going to hear a lot more stuff in January when we'll hear more stuff about it, which is kind of surprising that they're going to be such tight-lipped about it with only a few months to go.
I mean, it's not. I mean, is it surprising for Nintendo though?
Well, I just feel like based on their marketing faux pas of the past few generations.
I mean, at least we know about it. It could be the Wii U. At least we're aware it's happening. Not just, what's the Wii U? Is it an update? No, it's an entirely new console. Oh, when the hell did that happen? I don't know, but it's here. Oh.
And cool. We kind of don't really know what it is and what it's meant for.
So, you know what? You got to give their marketing team that. People at least know about it.
And know that it's different.
Yeah, and know that it is a completely separate thing from everything. Well, another recent release that has, at least from my Twitter, has everybody freaking out was the release of the trailer for Red Dead Redemption 2, which I'm super excited for. I love playing through the first one. Like, story-wise, I think they not only... I mean, Rockstar does a pretty good job with their stories, and I think the story for Red Dead Redemption was fantastic. And, that helped a lot in the game, but even aside from that, like the gunplay was great, riding around the desert on a horse and doing like the horse races and the carriage races, and just, I don't know, everything in that really came together and was a really fun game. Even like the zombie expansion for it, which, albeit very silly, was still pretty fun. And I'm excited that they're making a sequel to it. Although I'm kind of confused who you're going to play as, because obviously, spoiler alert for those who haven't beat Red Dead Redemption, John's kind of dead, like super dead. So unless it's a prequel, you're not playing as him, or maybe concurrent, I guess. And God, please say you don't play as his son, because his son looks god awful as an adult. Like, there is no way that is the same person. Like, he does not look at all like, oh God, that was just.
Oh, you don't think his life made him into that weird, gritty, kind of pansy ass guy?
Weird, gritty, pedophile looking something. Yeah, as soon as it was like years later, and you're like, oh God, oh man, life was rough on him. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I love Red Dead Redemption as well, and I think that game did so many things right. It built a convincing world, I thought, and populated it with a lot of things to do and a lot of characters to see, and a lot of interesting things. You'd randomly ride by, getting robbed, and you have to chase down the dude, and you had to do the wanted posters to either hunt them down or bring them back. Was always kind of interesting, and I think that they made it feel like a Western game, which we really don't see that much in games. Is that Western theme, which was really fun. And I was kind of the first game that really did that for me. And I know that Gun did it a while ago, but I felt like this did it the best that I've ever played. And I'm really stoked to see what they do with it, because I think they're great world builders, like they did with GTA 5, like they did with Red Dead Redemption. And if they can build a similar world with a lot of beauty and a lot of, hand woven characters and moments in the game, and maybe not necessarily ones that are tied to side missions or story missions, but just, I rode down the street and somebody was, riding a gang rode through and shot up the place. Just little side things that I think could really add a little bit to it. But I definitely think that this has to be a prequel, in my opinion, because Red Dead Redemption's, the main focus of the game was the end of the cowboy era.
Yeah, it was literally like one of the ending things of the game is like, yeah, look at this machine gun we have, because it's like 1913 or something?
Something like that.
Right? It was like 1913, wasn't it? And it's
I think that's what
that's kind of done now.
And that kind of, and when the railroad came in, like when you see the railroad go through the place, the railroad really was what brought a lot of the end of the West of the Western civilization, the old Western style and the cowboy style. So I don't think that doing a sequel just doesn't quite make sense in the time period that it would be in. Like if they did, well, it's 10 years after John Marshall died. I'm like, well, there won't be many cowboys left, and this life isn't really there anymore. So I feel like it's got to be a prequel of some variety. But then the question would be, would it be like Red Dead Revolver era prior to that? A totally new character altogether? That's the real question I have.
I actually kind of almost want a new character, because like John Marston was one of my favorite characters in like all of the Rockstar games, but like I'd be excited to see what they do. They're really good at writing characters, so I'd want to see them come up with a new protagonist / antagonist / anti-hero, whatever you want to call him. I guess more like an anti-hero, I guess. Because I just would love to see what they could do with it. From watching the trailer, I don't know, it very much was like a teaser, because they're like, hey guys, it's the game coming out. We're going to show you some random shots of the Wild West. Look at that. Yeah, there's some vultures eating a thing.
You like that?
You like that? Yeah, there's some dudes on horseback. They're not even going to fire their guns, but look at that. Yeah, they got guns. Look, it's the West. Yeah, look at that. You can tell because of the rock formations. Anywho, it's coming out. Yay. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they didn't really give us much details on it, and some people were saying, like with the poster that had like 7 people riding in, they're like, what if you play as 7 characters? I'm like, that'd be dumb.
Though I could kind of see it, because you play as 3 different characters in Grand Theft Auto 5. I'm like,
that's what people, and that's what people say. It's like, well, you play as multiple characters. I'm like, but I wasn't a huge fan of playing as 3 characters in GTA 5. I liked all 3 of the characters. I didn't like switching between them, because I always felt like I could never get fully engrossed in one of what they're going through or what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you don't have time to really form a connection with any of them like too much, because you're like, oh, I guess I'm playing this guy now.
Yeah, because I'm like between Franklin and Michael and Trevor, I was like between all of them, I was like, I like them as characters, but I'm not attached to any of them in particular, or like feel like, man, I'm feeling for this guy because I see what he's going through. Whereas with John Marston, I was like, man, I see what this guy's going through, and I loved his character development.
This
over
is some
the entire
bullshit. Like this whole like, man, he's just getting the freaking short end of the stick constantly. Like there is nothing that is going his way.
Where is Javier Escuela?
God damn it.
And I hope that they, what I would really want them to do with Red Dead Redemption 2 is I hope that we're the bad guy this time. I don't want to be the good guy again.
Yeah, that would be an interesting change. Like if that's why there's a posse is because you were like an outlaw leader.
That would be great. I think that'd be awesome.
What if you're the outlaw leader? Because remember at the beginning of the game how you set up that there's that like I guess fort with people in it.
Fort Mercer with I can't remember the guy's name.
Shit. But yeah, like that.
Whatever his name is. Bill.
Like if
his name was Bill.
Yeah, like if you play as like part of Bill's posse, or like it's like the prequel to that.
Well, we know what the prequel to that is. It's Red Dead Revolver.
Well, fair point. Aha, yes, that's right. I haven't finished it. I've gotten about halfway through, and then I'm like, man, this is ouch.
Yeah, so we know everything about Dutch's gang, and
yep, true, fair enough.
We know all about what that is because that's what Red Dead Revolver is about. But what if it's just a separate gang in a separate region? Just say, hey, you're an outlaw leader, and I would be cool with, as cliche as it would be, to be like, well, you're a nobody in there and have to work your way up in an outlaw gang. I would like to see that side of the life, because in this one, we know in Red Dead Redemption that John Marston was a bad guy at one point.
Yeah.
We get that throughout the game. If you hadn't played Red Dead Revolver, you're like, okay, this guy's not the best dude or has a checkered past, but he's trying to make right by it and be nice to people in the world. But I'm like, what if I want to go into the saloons and I want to shoot up the place or start a bar fight because it's fun? Not that you couldn't do that in Red Dead Redemption. It just didn't feel like something Marston would do, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, what would be really interesting is if they could write a character where either path is foreseeable. I realize that's super hard because you have to write a character who is so neutral it hurts, but also is interesting. Like he could be anything. I don't know, but care about him. Like, well, okay, that I understand how that might be extremely difficult, but like
that'd be if they could do it right. And I mean, I think that they could. They do know how to do characters well. I mean, I think that they could do it, and maybe the title Red Dead Redemption 2 could be do you choose to be redeemed from it, or do you choose to fall deeper into whatever you're doing?
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could set it up. You could make it like a choice at the beginning, but then you can't really change mid-game, or make it like a Fallout-esque, like, depending on your actions, you either become more evil.
Well, I hope it's not Fallout 4-esque. Basically, kill everyone else other than the person you like.
You mean Fallout 4? It's like, you shot that man in the face. Yeah, all right. God damn it! I'm trying to be evil, son of a bitch. How about this? I'm gonna shoot this kid. Oh, we'd rather you didn't. Bang! I'm evil. Look at that. Well, that kid was kind of an asshole. God damn it!
Like, you never could figure out, like, am I a bad guy or am I a good guy? I don't know.
Literally everything I do that I think is evil, people just don't really care about, and I'm still neutral. God damn it.
And not only that, but I mean, by the end of, like, I know we're on a tangent, but at the end of Fallout 4, I'm like, you know how many people I've murdered in this wasteland? You know how many people I have slaughtered? How many civilizations that I've probably, like, how many hundreds of people I've killed? And walk in with my power armor and just annihilate an entire group of people.
Literally punched a dude in the face so hard his head exploded.
And I'm the guy who's like, I gotta save the day. I have to save people. I'm like, you just totally murdered everyone who disagreed with you.
I know, right?
and I hope it's not something like that.
Yeah.
But I would love to see, like, in my personal opinion, I would love to see being the bad guy in the game where I do get to rob the banks, rob the trains. Instead of trying to save people, I want to be the bad guy who takes the damsel in distress, puts her on the railroad track, because why not?
I mean, we did that anyways. That was just what we...
I know.
There was an achievement for it. They encouraged you to do it.
Well, they did. But the thing that I just couldn't... for me, I have a hard time separating that from John Marston's character.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, you're like, why would he? There was no reason he would do this.
And that's where it felt so out of character for me that I just didn't enjoy it. That's why in GTA 5, I really enjoyed having her as one of the characters, because I'm like, if I want to go on a murderous rampage, it made sense for him.
You have your lawful good, chaotic evil, and your neutral.
Pretty much. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go streaking through the streets carrying nothing but a baseball bat. Yeah, this is what's going to happen. And it
chaotic
made sense.
evil engage.
And so I hope that they give us a little bit of freedom with it. But if they weave a good story, I'm all for that too. I'm really good with anything as long as you keep it consistent.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes out over the next few days. Hopefully they release a little bit more. It might be a few weeks. As this stuff goes, you never know. It's like they might just be like, anywho, so today here's all the game, and you're gonna be like, oh, sweet.
That's exact
cool.
opposite of what I thought.
They're like, it's gonna be non-open world. It's gonna be a linear game, and watch everyone be like, what? Taking
place during World War II.
What? Wait, what? What? Everyone's like, well, that escalated quickly. All right, well,
I didn't see that coming. They're like, we told you we didn't want to show you too much.
You know what would actually be kind of interesting? This is a complete tangent, but I just thought of it, and I thought it'd be interesting. So, what if they had like a Red Dead Redemption style game, but set in the modern era? Like, just but in like one of those like really like remote mountain town kind of thing.
So like Montana or something?
Yeah, right? Like, that would be...
So you're meaning like a Longmire kind of thing?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah. I was like,
Except you're the bad guy, I guess.
Or
the good guy.
Or the good guy. I just like, that is a location I feel like hasn't been exploited too much.
Or Appalachia. I mean, that place has a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, like that, but like I'm like, oh, that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, that would be kind of interesting. And there's a lot of regions in a lot of time periods that have been unexplored, especially in modern day. Because I mean, modern day, what do we get 90% of the time? We either get
Los Angeles
Watch
or New
Dogs, techie Watch Dogs or GTA, and we get the modern shooter that we've seen a million times. But we don't really get, odd locations around the world today.
Yeah, like I think the closest thing you get for that kind of experience is like Alan Wake.
Yeah,
like
that's
middle
true.
of nowhere, but also kind of with pistols and stuff because it's real and it's like that's the closest you get to middle of nowhere. Just middle of nowhere USA.
Yeah, which not a lot happens, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, but you can faff some stuff around and make it work.
You can make it interesting.
Let's see here. I know another thing that it's weird. Apparently, like people are expecting the Titanfall 2 release to not go well. Apparently, from what I've seen, I think it'll be fine. Apparently people have been like, it's gonna be terrible. Like what about it makes it look like it's gonna be terrible? I could understand if you're like, well, it'll be okay. Like,
or lukewarm about it.
Yeah, like middle of the road. Like, well, it's probably not going to be fantastic, but it'll do okay. I from what I've seen, like I played the first game a little bit, and I liked it, and I'm not against the game. I just don't understand why people are so freaking out about it, I guess.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff about Titanfall 2 where they're, like you said, where people are saying, oh, this game's going to be terrible. Oh, it looks like crap. And obviously it just released. I mean, for when we recorded this, it released on Friday. So it has been received well by the critical reviews. I mean, it's up there with Battlefield 1 in terms of reviews, and critics have generally liked it. And it's had a campaign, even though it's shorter. I mean, they can do it with a lot of their platforming ability, with the mobility of the pilots themselves. The campaign, as I've seen, has a lot of interesting platforming elements and a lot more, puzzle elements to it because of that. And I think that's kind of an interesting element to put into the game. But
it feels weird to me that your giant mech is effectively like dog meat, though.
Yeah.
Good boy. Like what?
You're like, okay.
Could we not do that?
Yeah, he's basically a dog, and you're like, I don't know about that. But anyways, I think it's got a lot of good things to it, and I think I love Titanfall 1. I played a ton of Titanfall 1. I thought it was really well done. It was fast paced. It was just different than any shooter I had played up to that point, where it had a lot of verticality to it without requiring you to get in ships or have special powers or something, but allowing you to do the wall running and string that together to be a fluid motion where everything felt deliberate and everything felt like it worked how you thought it would. I never really had a time in that game where I was like, oh, that didn't do what I thought it was going to do. Everything I did, I was like, I'm going to wall run here, jump on top of this thing, shoot out of it, and then jump into my Titan. And it felt really smooth. And I think Titanfall 2, from what I played with the beta, did the exact same thing. And so I'm like, well, why do people are so negative about it? And I think there's probably 2 reasons for it. Reason number 1 is Battlefield 1's released 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that it's kind of like the console wars. People pick their game and they want to justify that purchase to themselves.
I didn't make a mistake on Battlefield 1. No, I'm totally fine. Guys,
I'm fine.
Right? I didn't make a mistake.
It's a great game. Everyone says
it's great. It's great. Everyone loves it. Everyone loves it. Like,
and if you don't, then you're just stupid.
Yeah, well, Titanfall 2 terrible. Battlefield 1's better. Like, yeah.
Exactly. And I think that market, and then the Call of Duty people on the other end to bookend this game, the Call of Duty people are like, this game looks terrible. Call of Duty's way better. And I think that was what drives down the user side of people saying, oh, it's terrible. Mm-hmm. That it's that. And I think the other part is I think that a lot of people didn't play Titanfall 1 and don't really know what it is. And they see it as some kind of clone of, Call of Duty, or see it as some clone of a Battlefield or of any of the multiplayer shooters nowadays. And people are just trying to
clones
bash
of each other.
Yeah, and they're all similar, but I think Titanfall in particular is very unique in its own way, because I think that with the amount of mobility, I mean, Call of Duty Black Ops and Black Ops 3 and Call of Duty Advanced Warfare copied off of the mobility and the wall running and the
wow, you mean wall running being implemented into basically every map? Nah, come on, it's fine. No, it's totally not the same.
And so they tried to shoot, they put that in their game saying, oh no, see, we did too. We know how to do it too, even though theirs was way worse than Titanfall, because Titanfall felt like it worked for me. Every time I played it, everything worked. All the wall running worked where it should, and where in Call of Duty, I'm like, I want a wall run right here. Oh, and I fell off the cliff. Well,
no, you have to be on the special wall run wall.
Exactly. You have to be on the special wall that allows you to do it. This one's too bumpy. You can't do it on that wall. You have to do it on the flat plate.
Yeah, that's very clearly positioned so you can do that. Like, there's no other reason that would be there except to wall run on it.
Exactly. And so I feel like that a lot of games have tried to copy off of Titanfall's 2s. And I think that adding those mechs into the game and your Titans into the games where you call them down from above, and it changes the way you play the game from a fast, speedy little guy running around like a bat out of hell to a walking tank. Mm-hmm. And I think that change of pace of gameplay is really fun and really interesting and keeps the game interesting. Where if you're like, I'm not doing very well, suddenly you call in your Titan and you could change, the whole thing could change for you. And you can, because a lot of times, in games when you're getting beat down a lot, it's hard to even push back at some points because you have to do the same thing. But that gives an extra element of, well, if you call down your strategic Titan in the right place at the right time, you can really change the game.
Yeah, because you might get the drop on the enemy Titan that's been beating your ass for the last who knows long, and just like, oh, well, he's dead. Hey, I'm the one in the Titan now.
And not only that, but if you're like all of your team does it correctly, you have 4 Titans that drop at the same time, totally changes the game.
Yeah. So I don't understand why everybody's being so negative about it.
I think it'll be fun. Great.
Oh God. I've heard that I haven't played it yet. I want to, only from the standpoint of I want to confirm it for my own eyes, But I've heard the single player campaign is just flat as hell. It's just, there's nothing to it. It looks nice, I guess. It plays okay, but it's just bare bones.
Yeah, see, I've heard the opposite. I've heard a lot of people liking it, saying it's the best one that they've played, but Battlefield campaigns have been so. I mean,
it's
can't be any worse.
It's like, well, I mean, all I got was a stick for my birthday, but last year it was nothing, so I got the stick.
That's exactly what it kind of sounded like. And so, I mean, it's interesting that they do it in stories that you can follow different characters on different fronts. And I think that does add a little bit of intrigue to it. And I bet it's fun. I bet it's interesting, but I wouldn't say that it's any world beater that you're going to remember down the road, like a Call of Duty 4 campaign that you remember.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's... and then I think there was one more thing you wanted to talk about, right? The No Man's Sky tweet, right?
Oh, yes. As we've, everybody on the internet making fun of No Man's Sky because they deserve it.
God, that was terrible. It was such a terrible
But
game.
so, basically their Twitter account, their main Twitter account that's done by Sean Murray, and that before the release of the game was like, oh, look at this new stuff we've got. Oh, we have all this interesting, hype machine stuff that they would all put online every day, every week. And it was constant videos, constant updates, constant things. And suddenly, once their game releases, we've had 2 tweets since the game released. Seems a little suspicious to me. So anyway, so just a couple days ago, we see a tweet from this dormant Twitter account that says, No Man's Sky was a mistake. And yes, it was.
Yeah.
So, of course, No Man's Sky developer Hello Games is like, we were hacked. It wasn't us. And they're trying to cover their track, but it's too late. And I've heard some reports saying that it was a disgruntled employee who was the one who put out this tweet. And I'm like, well, I mean, you got people who aren't happy about how the game turned out. And I don't know. And this game was a total flop in terms of initial sales. It did really well, and their hype machine really paid off for them in terms of initial sales. Pre-orders, and people who just bought the game because they delayed the reviews, which Bethesda's doing now too. Because they're delaying the reviews so they don't. Because if they gave review copies out early, do you think this stuff would have been figured out earlier?
No, of course not. Like the review embargo thing usually makes sense because then that way That just makes okay. So having I do reviews and I get, again, I know I'm small time and everything, but I've done enough to understand if you don't have your review out on day one, you get buried in everybody else's. So having those review embargoes most times actually levels the playing field, so that everybody has to release at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just saying no reviews whatsoever until it releases is weird. That's just, yeah.
Or not even give copies out.
Yeah, it's just fishy. It's like, come on. Clearly that is intended for them to make their money from the game before anyone can realize it may or may not be a bad game. Whether or not it is one, it's so that they're covered. So, okay, everybody bought it. We made our money back. If they don't like it, we're good. We're good. We're fine.
And
don't worry about it.
And that's where I feel like that game was trying to do. I think they realized it early on, much earlier it couldn't have been something they towards the end. They had to have known that this was going to be coming down the road.
Yeah, they're like, guys, we can't accomplish all of this by the time we have to release this. What are we going to do? Well, what if we just don't let anyone know it's not what they paid for? Cool, got it. All right.
But see, the thing that they probably have done, and this tweet is another example of it, is I think they've destroyed any faith that anyone has in their company. If Hello Games ever tries to publish another game, then nobody's going to trust them again.
Oh yeah, no, they because of what they did, they effectively backstabbed their consumer base. It's out, it's done. They're like you're saying, if they ever try to do anything again, people are going to be like, no, we remember what you did with No Man's Sky. Screw you.
And we're not going to believe you when you say, oh, look at this cool game, these cool concepts, and these cool ideas. And I think that this game just fell on the hype train bus with Sony, backing them. I think that was probably their biggest mistake, is having Sony back them. Is because then Sony gets to say, hey, we need your release in this quarter of the game the release year. So you're going to have to release it. So better do what you can do. We'll give you some leeway, but it better be out. And so when you're a small time firm, you can say, well, we're going to release it here, assuming that your finances say you can. But you can say, well, we need to delay it just so we can, bide our time. We can make it exactly how we want. And suddenly they kind of were starting to get pressure. I'm sure they were by Sony and others to say
tapping their watch like
need to get this out
now.
And I think they knew that they had problems before the game released, and they had to have known, and that's why that's where now that Bethesda's doing it. Speaking of on a similar tangent, where Bethesda's now saying we're not giving any review copies out until after so you're gonna have to play it when the game releases. Which I'm like, all right, Bethesda, you are the notorious person for having buggy games at launch, and they know it. They know that they're not very good at fixing bugs or doing having issues with their games or crashing issues. They know that. They just don't want anyone to see it beforehand because it hurts their review, hurts their sales.
Yeah, and I just really wish that I don't know what the solution is either. I wish that wouldn't happen.
Or it also, and I guess because to me, I'm like, even if your game is good, it makes me wonder, is there going to be something issue with this game? And I think from a consumer side, we want to know. I mean, we want games, the good games. A lot of games for me, Mass Effect or Persona, I want to get them right away because I really love those series or I love those games and I want to play the next one. But you're always kind of worried if because a lot of people, most people have a certain amount of games they can buy a year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you waste your money on a game that turns out to be a total bust because you didn't read the reviews beforehand, and obviously you could say, well, you should just wait to buy the game until all the reviews come out. You're like, but I want to enjoy, especially for multiplayer games, you want to enjoy that initial push where everyone's trying to figure things out. Because eventually, let's say you get it 2 months later, well, now everyone's figured out the game and you're kind of left out in the dust, and that's no fun.
Oh, look, everybody's using the sniper rifle in Battlefield 1. What? Sorry, what?
Exactly. You get things where everyone finds the best thing, and I enjoy that first part of multiplayer games where nobody really knows what's best yet.
Yeah, it's you always get that effect too, when you're playing an MMO game and you're just you're playing and then you stop playing for a month and you come back, you're like, well, I have lost the meta. It is gone. It is gone.
And I think that review copies do help people make informed decisions. And I understand review embargoes make sense to me because you want everyone, like you said, you want it to be fair for everybody. You don't want somebody who got it 2 weeks early as opposed to 1 week early to have their review out first, get all the traffic, and then everyone subsequently gets kind of buried under it.
Yeah, and that's just how videos in general, just any media, it's whenever you're reporting on something, if you don't have it out immediately, in this climate, if you don't have that out immediately, you might as well have never posted it.
And that's frustrating, and I think that's hard. But I think a review embargo, have everyone's reviews released at the same time is nice, but that means they get advanced copies. And then they just wait to release their review, and they have it all done and ready to go. They just have to wait for the embargo to lift, which I think it makes total sense to me. But then saying no review copies, suddenly it becomes fishy like No Man's Sky.
Yeah, it's
the perfect example.
Yeah, I don't know what Bethesda was thinking about that. I like how we went from No Man's Sky to hey, how about those reviews though?
Well, No Man's Sky was kind of in terms of that. That was their big mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the mistake was the game.
The entirety of the game, but
was a mistake. And so,
hey guys, here's this giant open world of nothing. Have fun? ?
And collect a bunch of resources and then do it again.
It's all the fun of a free to play without any of the fun of the free to play,
and the money that you have to pay for it.
It's a lose-lose situation.
Good, have fun.
Enjoy. Oh, dear. Alrighty, well, I think that's a pretty good set for today. We've, again, joking aside, this has been a pretty long conversation. Most of it was the Nintendo Switch, which I think we got into a lot more than I had expected, which is good because I'm excited for it. It's probably one of the first consoles in a while that I've been interested in and actually buying. Yeah, because I play most of my games on PC, and I'm really excited about it. I'm like, oh, finally, all right, that actually seems like that might be worthwhile for me to buy. So I'm going to be excited to hear more about that. And yeah, I really hope with like Red Dead 2 and several of the other games coming out soon, there's just like that it turns into something good and isn't just like No Man's Sky, just a whole bunch of hype that then just falls flat on its face. So I guess only time will tell on that front, huh?
That'll be the only way to find out. But you just got to take comfort in the fact that we usually have at least a dozen good games a year.
That is true. One for every month. Yay!
Pretty much.
There's at least one good egg in the month. Just got to find it. That's the hard part.
That's the real challenge.
Indeed. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Tom. Nice to talk to you, and see you next time.
Yeah, see ya.